Bro, come on, Bionic Commando, kitty. Bionic Commando, you remember that? Remember that thing where you're like trying to jump, you can't jump, you gotta swing the claw around, and you're like, man, if I could just jump, it'd be way better. That's not true, kitty. That's not true. We're gonna talk about this masterpiece right here on the NES. There were so many games that you would have, you know, a shoot button and then a jump button. And so Capcom came up with a brilliant idea. It's like, well, what if you can't jump? Well, you got to sling this claw around to get to everything. And so the claw is the key to this game. You learn to jump with the claw. You learn to save your ass from like when you're about to die by hitting the freaking like ledge of the cliff right before you hit the water, clawing your ass sack up. And the amount of tricks and badass things you could do with it is so cool. And bro, it takes a while to learn, but once you get there, you're like, yeah, I get this, I get this. And so sometimes your limitation is what makes the game great. And you had all these cool different little guns and stuff. There's like all of this intrigue and espionage and story. You kind of wander around the maps. There's like a lot, there's like 17 maps or whatever, and there's a bunch of neutral zones where you actually can't shoot people. You can't shoot in a neutral zone, which as a little kid confuses you. As you grow up and you get older, you realize there's a lot more than just, you know, killing the guys with the best spread gun you can. You got to, you know, there's a little bit of strategy involved. And let's talk about probably the one thing that keeps this from being the true and ultimate classic, like, you know, top 20 super uberest damn NES game ever. The problem is that you have essentially kind of an action RPG. You start off, you die in one hit, you have no continues. You actually have to figure out by playing the game to have to go and get your continues, and on top of that, you need to go and kill enemies to get little bullet pellets that make you have full maximum hit points. You can get 6 or 7 actual maximum hit points, and once you get those, your dude doesn't suck. When he first starts out, it's like really weird because one hit, you're dead, you suck, and it's kind of punishing. The problem is with this is though, as you get you do all this work and put all this time in, you know, spend 20 or 30 minutes building up your guy. There's no save. There's no save at all, and there's no password, and so you essentially would have to do this dang game in one go, and that it would be extremely intimidating back in the day when people didn't think, oh, well, you're supposed to play games 15 hours a day. That's the day standard. That ain't the way it was back then. It's like you would play a game for 20 or 30 minutes, and then you would do the next thing, usually a different game. But if you're willing to put on, maybe use save states or emulation, or I don't know if it's on 3DS, you know, you can just, when you play on 3DS, you can just put the clamp down, put down the clamshell when you're not playing, and then you're going to need about 4 or 5 hours of practice to get good at actual how to play this game, and then you're going to need probably about 3 or 4 hours to beat it. I beat it pretty fast, actually, when I decided that I'm going to beat this game without the Game Genie, because I used to use the Game Genie on this game. But this is a freaking amazing, amazing game, and it belongs in your NES collection. But not only does it belong in your collection, you need to actually sit down and really play it. And don't be intimidated by the challenge. You get better. You get better at the game, and you'll be surprised about the kind of crazy shit you could do. And so when you get into the areas where you're just swinging off like 20 things in a row, and there like is no ground at all, it's nowhere near as hard as Ninja Gaiden. And so if you put in the time, this game is going to really treat you good, and we are going to give it all the paws up. Kitty loves the unique gameplay of it. She loves classic retro stuff as well. And Brian loves all of the espionage, man. He's a freaking big Tom Clancy fan. And while this isn't an official Tom Clancy license, this would be what that would be if it was back then. Does that make any sense? Anyway, so yeah, Bionic Commando, get it. Why don't you have it already? You should have had it for 20 years now, maybe even 30. Okay, bye.